Southeast Georgia and the Lowcountry. This is WJCL 22 Morning News. See us now.
Right now on WJCL 22 Morning News at 6, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham refusing to testify in the Georgia election probe. The next steps in this case.
An unredacted version of the affidavit that sent FBI agents into the home of former President Donald Trump could soon be released. What we've learned overnight.
2 people dead after eating raw oysters. The cases hundreds of miles apart. The only similarity officials are looking into this morning.
Stepping up the response to monkeypox. I'm Amy Lou in Washington with the Biden administration's new effort to control the outbreak.
We're going to head outside and start our Friday. We are live in downtown Savannah on Broughton Street. I always love seeing those lights at night. We want to thank you at night, in the morning. Oh, my goodness. We want to thank you so much for starting your Friday right here on WJCL 22. Good morning. I'm Emma Hamilton.
And I'm Frank Solkowski, meteorologist Melissa Hall joining us this morning. And Mel, as we look back at the radar, there is still some rain in the area, and we saw a good bit of it yesterday, that's for sure.
Yeah, some folks got 7 inches here in Savannah. An
7?
Inch, 7 over in the low country.
Wow.
Yeah, and today, that's the area that wants to get hit even more.
Wow.
So all of us have that chance, though. So you need to really be aware. It is another impact weather day. As you can see on the radar, we've got a front hanging out across the area. That's our weather maker. And those heavy downpours, well, you might not have any right now, just light rain on the radar, but that is in the forecast for today. You could get one at any point, but they ramp up this afternoon, and you can see the clouds that are the weather maker. Now, temperatures with those clouds ruling the forecast and those rain chances dominating, they'll be on the milder side. We're going to top out in the mid to upper 80s, mid 80s at the coast, but with those rain chances coming in, it is going to feel sticky because we get that breeze out of the south. So feels like it's in the mid 90s again. And then when you have a storm pop up, well, it could be potentially impactful with those heavy downpours of an inch plus. Now, it could get noisy at times too. The severe risk, here's some good news. That's on the low side, but that doesn't mean you could not have to deal with those downpours affecting your commute in those areas that just don't want to drain. You know where they are across the whole area. We got some in Savannah from Anderson Street on over. So get that WJCL 22 News app today because it's going to be one of those scattered showers, but they could be on the potentially dangerous side. Now, right now, let's take a look at your traffic. Traffic track 22, your commute not affected by the rain if you're over in the low country. Right there at the intersection of Okatee and Speedway, you're seeing a little slowdown just because of that stoplight. Well, if you're heading from Bluffton to Hilton Head, it's only going to take you about 16 minutes. And as we look across the area, a lot of green on this Friday morning. I'd like to show you folks that.
All right, thanks so much, Melissa. Yeah, we're heading outside, taking a live look. We are at Northside Drive, that Veterans Memorial Parkway out in Statesboro. A few folks moving through the intersection, and there are no traffic issues in this part of our area. Well, this morning, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham is fighting not to testify in the Georgia election probe on Tuesday.
The special grand jury investigating whether former President Donald Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election in the state. Graham officially filed an appeal yesterday. The panel is looking into Graham's phone calls to Georgia Secretary of State and his staff in the weeks after the election. The appeal was expected after the judge's ruling back on Monday. All new this morning, we could soon learn more about the FBI search of former President Donald Trump's Florida home. The judge who authorized the search is now hinting a possible unsealing of a redacted version of that affidavit. The document could shed some light on the criminal investigation that led agents to the former president's home.
ABC's Faith Abube is in Washington with what's next.
Good morning. Former President Donald Trump has called for the full document, unredacted, to be released. But in court yesterday, his attorneys made no moves to call for the judge to do just that.
This morning, the Justice Department, under a court order to quickly propose redactions of the probable cause affidavit used to search former President Donald Trump's Florida estate. The magistrate judge who approved the FBI search warrant saying he's leaning towards the public seeing the DOJ's written justifications for the unprecedented move. Judge Bruce Reinhart adding, quote, "I am not prepared to find that the affidavit should be fully sealed." The judge's willingness to potentially unseal a redacted version of the search affidavit coming after lawyers for news organizations, including ABC News, argued the sensitive documents should be released because, quote, transparency serves the public interest in understanding and accepting the results. Trump's lawyers also inside the courtroom Thursday, but taking no action to support the release, despite Trump saying on social media he wants the full unredacted version unsealed. The Justice Department, at least for now, wants the affidavit to remain secret, claiming that publicly releasing the sensitive documents at this point could jeopardize its criminal investigation. Since the FBI court-authorized search last week, angry Trump supporters have called for violence against federal investigators. And now DOJ lawyers say they're very concerned about the safety of the witnesses. The lawyers adding that a redacted version of the affidavit would be so heavily blacked out, quote, there would be nothing of substance left.
And the Department of Justice has until next Thursday to file its proposed redactions, and then the judge will decide whether to unseal the affidavit. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
A member of the Grammy-nominated hip-hop group Nappy Roots is recovering after being kidnapped and shot in the leg on Wednesday. Melvin Adams, also known as Scales, is a co-owner of a brewery in Atlanta. He was approached by two men after the brewery closed and demanded money from the safe. They forced Adams into his own SUV at gunpoint and started driving to his home. Adams was able to break free and get away, but not before getting shot. He was hospitalized and is in stable condition this morning. Police have not identified the two suspects.
All right, now the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, feeling much better after testing positive for COVID back on Monday. The White House says she continues to make progress and remains quarantined in South Carolina. She and President Biden were vacationing on Kiowa Island. She'll continue to isolate there until she has at least 2 negative COVID tests.
All new this morning, the Biden administration is announcing new steps to reduce the spread of monkeypox. Health leaders are now focusing on vaccines and treatment as demand continues to remain high. Right now, there are 1,033 confirmed monkeypox cases in Georgia, one of the highest in the country. In South Carolina, there are 73 confirmed cases. We want to check in now with our Amy Lou in Washington with the very latest.
The Biden administration's plan includes boosting supply with an additional 1.8 million doses of the monkeypox vaccine available for order on Monday. State and local health departments that administer the vaccine through the skin and have used 90% of their current supply can now order the doses. On top of this, HHS is launching a pilot program setting aside vaccine doses for areas hosting large gatherings of high-risk groups. Health departments can order those doses in addition to their existing allocations and supply.
Not only are we working to set up vaccination stands and activities with personnel in the local health departments, but we're also working hard to ensure that we have the right messaging for the right people during those events.
Health officials are also making available 50,000 courses of antiviral treatment available to those who test positive. In Washington, I'm Amy Lou.
Well, this morning, an NFL quarterback accused of sexual misconduct suspended nearly a dozen games.
Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has settled with the NFL for an 11-game suspension and a $5 million fine. Now, this comes after he was accused of more than 24 cases of sexual misconduct to women during massage sessions. Watson has to undergo mandatory evaluation by behavioral health experts and follow their suggested treatment program. Watson shared in a statement, "I apologize once again for any pain this situation has caused. I take accountability for the decisions I made. My focus going forward is on working to become the best version of myself on and off the field." Watson is still claiming that he's innocent.
Just because, settlements and things like that happen doesn't mean that a person is guilty for anything.
Watson will become eligible for reinstatement on November 28th and available to play by week 13.